Hello and welcome to Flory Models Quick View Time. Today we've got Trumpeter's latest release. This is the much anticipated 1/35th scale AH-64A Apache early version. So this is a sort of dawn of the Apache gunship, shall we say. And again, it's slightly different, a lot different to the modern ones that we see now, as in the Guardian and the Echoes and things like that, versions of the Apache being the more Longbow ones. So this is the small, lightweight, skinny version compared to what they are today. So on the box, nice box art, to be honest, very nice indeed. So a couple of bits on this one. Talks about it's going to be the length of around about 43 centimeters. You're going to have a rotor span of around about what have we got there, 41 centimeters, and it's 360 plus parts. I don't know why it's plus parts, but it is. And yeah, you got some nice sort of CAD work down in here showing the gun. So we've got the gun, we've got the TADs down here at the front, we've got the cockpit, the tail wheel sort of section, the way that this all goes in there as well. We have got some bays as well on the outside, and obviously it looks like we've got a fully detailed engine, which is a nice touch. And then we've got the normal sort of Hydra rockets and Hellfires down in here for going on the wings. All right. So your kit number for this one is 05114. And again, some of the markings down in here, which are going to be in Helo Drap right the way through with those ones. So again, it looks like we get some nice load of weapons, we know, huge decal sheet and some photo etch as well with this one. So in the box, I have to say, Trumpeter still have the best boxes out there. Good, strong boxes. Some of the stuff that's coming up in the near future, including the Apache. Let me get rid of that. You can see this is a large helicopter. Now, if you followed along with me over some time, you'll know that we've looked at many Apaches over the years, and we've built quite a few as well on the show. So again, really nice to see a Trumpeter version of it, when obviously we've been looking at Meng's version and things like that before. So again, all separately bagged, all the way through, pretty much as we'd expect from Trumpeter. God, they look skinny compared to the ones, the sort of side extensions. And again, we've got some armoured up wraps down in here. We've got the mask set, so it is nice to see they are carrying this through. So we've got a mask set now with all the new Trumpeter releases, and obviously decals and instructions. And then in here we have the rubber tyres, and we've got the little bit of photo etch as well. And we assume down in here we've got the clear parts. So as always though, we will start with the instructions. Get those out first. So the instructions themselves, pretty much as you would expect from Trumpeter. We've got the colour sheet with all the decal placements and your colour call-outs and things like that. So down in here, as I imagine, it's typical Trumpeter-esque way of putting this one in. Cockpit section all going down in here. I assume we've got raised details, but again, if you wanted to, you've actually got decals for the side, or you could come in with a 3D printed set, think Quinta, stuff like that as well. No doubt they'll be coming along with one of these in the future if they haven't already. Chain gun being fitted underneath as well. So we've got that one going down and in, and then pretty quickly we're getting it together. So we've got nothing really in the gearbox section down in here at the top of the rotor head, or sorry, the bottom of the rotor head, I should say, down in here. So we've just got a couple of parts making up that one. Chain gun fits in underneath already, so that one goes in. Cockpit sections sandwiched two halves together. Then obviously it's going to get a little bit interesting all the way through here. So again, we've got these side pods being put together, all the electronic stuff, and obviously the ammunition feed for the 30 cal underneath goes into these ones, and then they're going to be fitted on the sides. Same things we've seen before. Obviously the undercarriage comes up, bolts to the fuselage, goes through these, same on the other side right the way through. And again, one of the biggest differences is how small these are compared to obviously the modern ones, which go a lot further back and they're bigger and beefier. All right, so with those on, then we're into the gear being going underneath. Not a massive fan of rubber wheels, but as I say, it is separate hub, so that makes a nice job on that one. And then obviously those being fitted in there. Then obviously we've got the glazing work fitted in. Again, different way of doing the glazing work. You're either a fan or not a fan of this one, but again, at least it makes the sort of seamless entries of these goes on. So with those ones all being fitted down in here. We've got a wire strike protection system down in here at the back, and we've got some of these little boxes which fit down into here. Looking at this, it shows we are going to see other Apaches coming out because they're making it that way, if that makes sense. Then down in here, we've got the countermeasure suite being fitted down underneath. Got the tail going on in here. We've got the TAD system all being put together, and obviously all the lenses being fitted into that one. And then over on the other side, we've got this tail wheel, which they make quite a bit of a thing out of, being fitted in here. It is nice that it's a plug-in unit going straight in the back there, so that's quite nice. Then we've got the glazing going in on the side, and obviously it's talking about the mast set with those ones going on with that as well. Usual things, grab handles, stuff like that being fitted all over it. I'm sure I've got two there. There we have. The engine, nice touch. So we've got a fully detailed engine right the way through in here as it goes through. Usual colour callouts, as you might imagine, with those all the way in. Pretty straightforward. Exactly the same mirror for the other side. So you've got your port and starboard engines. And with those done, I assume you can have them open or closed. You're just going to be plugging those in the side. Extremely similar to the Meng kit and the Takom kits that we've seen before all the way through. Couple of lumps and bumps going on the rear. We've got the windscreen wipers, things like that, grab handles on this side as it goes through. Then we've got the pylons going together. We've actually got the braces being fitted onto that and the pylons being put onto those ones. Some more grab handles, aerials. We've got the disco light on the back. We've got the chaff and flare buckets being fitted onto the rear as well. And then down in here, we've got all the other lumps and bumps for the other side as those go through. All right. And then rotor head. So blades being fitted down into there. Pretty simple way of doing it. And then obviously coming up as well, we've got the swash plate and various things going in. And then we've got the actuators, pulleys and various stuff going on there as well. Pretty straightforward. And then pick your weapons loadout. So again, you can pick this thing up with rockets, or with obviously with Hellfires. I don't know how many you get of each, if you can give it separate things. I'm looking like it does come up with options, so you could just load it up with rockets, or you could just load it up with Hellfires, and I don't know which of the different ones you get in there. All right, what we like to do is the Ninja Hellfire. Don't think anyone does that yet, but anyway, there we go. Tail rotor together, and that completes your build. All right, so with that said, we've got the colour call out sheet, which actually is quite comprehensive the way that they've done this, with all the markings and the colours down in here as well. So again, lots of tiny little decals, all of these ones right the way through. And again, I'm not going to comment on these bays because for all I know, they are that simple back in the day. As again, you notice these come a lot further back now, and they say they're a bit more chunky and beefy. Both versions of them down in here as well, both cavalry units from the US Army, right the way through. Doesn't look too bad at all with that one. Pretty straightforward. Then we've got the knife. We've got the decals, things like that. So let's stand this out, stand that up. So I'm picking under here. Looking very big and glossy, but we've actually got the markings. So again, starting at the top, you can see pretty what we're expecting. Lots of stencil data down in there. Most of them are no steps, and I haven't got strong enough glasses to read these, put it like that. So various things. Looking at the actual Hellfires down in here, doesn't look like we've got enough to load it up totally with Hellfires. Hydras, I'm not sure about. We'll have to check this when we get here. But marking wise, we've only got enough for 8 Hellfires. So we'll see how that one goes. And again, to be honest, it's a little bit Trumpeter-esque. These are a little bit basic and all the rest of it. But again, I don't know too much about the Apache A. So very nice with those. Okay. The other thing we do get as well is a nice bit of photo etch. Pretty much as imagined. So we've got some of the gun rounds being fitted down in here. Some of the harnesses, which look, I don't know, they just look a little bit thin down in here. Some of the grill covers, stuff like that. So fair enough. And then we've got down in here, this is, again, it's a really weird, the only way I could describe it is that this feels the texture of wallpaper. But again, I've never used them, but they are die cut, but they're incredibly tightly done. You know, as I say, I would love to have a go with these just to see how good they are. But they are in here, but they're very, very, we can just peel one off. Apologies if you do end up with this kit. There we go. Oh, they're really thin. It is literally like paper. You can probably see the knife coming through. So anyway, we'll do that because we might not be building this one, to be honest with you, because I've built loads of Apaches. But anyway, Nice to see you've got a full mask set for it as well. It's not like just outer edges and that, so that'll make masking up a hell of a lot easier. Okay, last of the small bits, we've got some rubber tyres. They don't have a seam line in the middle, so that's handy. And we don't have any wording on the tyres themselves, so you might want to go aftermarket. I'm never a fan of the rubber wheels. Right, as we're here, and we've got the close-up cam, we'll have a look at the clear parts. As always, one thing you can't fault with Trumpeter is their packaging. Their boxes are brilliant, and to be honest with you, they always take some care over their parts, all being nicely protected. And this is another prime example. Those are really nice. That's very, very nice. Looks good. Again, nice little bit of meat on the bone here as well for going around the edges. No center seams or anything. This is all totally crystal clear. To be honest with you, happy with those clear parts. I think those look really very, very nice indeed. All right, so if we just keep these protected and wrapped up. Those back in here and then get into the meat of it. So first up, the big one, as they say, dive down into the fuselage halves. As I say, the Apache is a lump, and there you go, this thing doesn't disappoint. So what we've got on here is fully recessed riveting, which obviously it's not. It is raised and it's rough and textured and all the rest of it. But no, this is fully recessed. And again, usual sort of amount of detail you might imagine around on these ones. You can see it down in here. It's Trumpeter, let's face it. You know, if you've ever built a Trumpeter kit, you'll know what I mean when I say it's Trumpeter. This is typical Trumpeter right the way through. It's sort of no frills. It is what it is. It's got all the details you could probably want in there without going over the top. But because these technically are raised rivets and this is totally smooth, it does feel a little bit odd. So again, inside to the cockpits and inside, there's nothing at all. A little bit of quilting just down on each side. And again, this isn't three-dimensional type quilting. It's just engraved quilting as well. So there's no real textures and things. But, you know, the smaller parts in here, you can see they're very, very nicely done. Even the wiper blades, just a little bit plain, just missing a little bit of something there. Generally, though, it's a hell of a lump. It's an Apache. It's nice that it doesn't have the cutout like all the others have got. All right, it is just fully open down in here as well. So again, we're going to imagine we're going to be seeing different versions of the Apache coming along in the future. So there's one. And then, to be honest, I don't know where I go from that. Let's try in here. Okay, so bag number 2, we've got the cockpit section. We've got the tabs at the front. Tabs have got a nasty seam line flying through those. We do have some textured quilting. Again, I suppose, summing up on this, it's a simplified version. It's nice that you've got all the textures down in here, so, you know, and everything. But again, I'm not sure on the A. I know quite a bit about the Guardian and things like that, been around them quite a bit. So a lot of this switching stuff down in here, especially on the pilot's one, yeah, I didn't realize it had any of these. So over on here, you've got the lights down the back here. You've got the beacons, the flashes, and stuff like that. And then next up, you've got the throttle, where you've got the starters, the APU switch. You've got, you know, technically your key goes in up here as well. And then obviously making your way forward with all these different things. It's slightly different to how I know it. So again, I'm not sure on the accuracy of this one of how much it is, because technically modern ones now on here, you've got the radio stuff here and then nothing, because down in here, you've got the firearm, the crew's personal equipment. You've got the, you know, the actual night vision goggles, pockets down in here, and the store for the helmet mounted sight, things like that are all down in here. So again, it's all slightly different now. And again, the quilting's just a little bit, yeah, it's there. The cockpit details, again, obviously on a modern Apache, you've got 2 big MFDs each side, really big ones as well, down in here. So again, I'm not sure about what it actually has in the A version. And again, same thing goes down in here for the sort of TDAC system, for the gunner to have. But again, I'm not up on this one. The gun as well, a little bit disappointing. It's just molded in one. You know, it's a big part of this particular kit. It would have been nice to get some air, shall we say, through the actual on the end here with the actual muzzle brake itself. But again, it's pretty simply done. So yeah, the other thing as well, we do have really nasty seam lines down in here in the TADS pod on the front of the nose. So again, just a little bit, you know, it's going to take some sanding and clean up. It is a basic version of. All right, so what do we got? Okay, so next up we've got the rotors and the various parts. We've got all the stuff really just for the rotors and the engine covers and things like that. And again, it's just a little bit washed out. You know, the rotors themselves look quite nice, but you've got this little tiny area here. Sorry, this little tiny area here. All that weight is on that tiny little section that's going to be down in there. So again, yeah, doesn't look like it's going to hold too much because these fit in these. And again, inside these, classic example, we've got ejector pin marks down in here. So I'm going to do it with that one. Let's pick up something with a bit more meat on it. There we go. What we're talking about is these. So these down in here, these need to come out, because otherwise, if you don't take them out, you're not going to get those parts in. And you've got one in each side. So make sure you clean all of these out, because that's going to be a real fit issue, because they're quite thick and can't even make that one go. Yeah, I'm not going to play with it too much, but you're going to have to get into these and get these out of the way, because otherwise you're going to foul up absolutely everything. And again, we've got ejector pins inside the doors. So obviously, technically these have like a plate over them, so the crew can walk on it when they're working on the engines and doing walk around inspections and things like that. So technically it should have something covering this anyway, which would then hide the ejector pins, but it's got ejector pins all over that. So that's a little bit of a shame as well. Again, it just, yeah, I don't know the best way to describe it. It's just like it's lacking in detail all over. And I think the reason for that is, if you'd done this a few years ago, we'd all gone, oh wow, look, that's beautiful. But we've been spoilt with some really, really nice offerings from Takom and Meng with the Apaches. And let's face it, they went to town and just had them everywhere. So, you know, and again, this lack of raised detail is definitely showing. There's no raised detail on anything. Everything's really smooth to the touch. And, you know, with the Apache, it's definitely not. All right. So, you know, it's one of those things. It is what it is, you know. But again, the recessed details are all really very, very nice. And I think this will make a very nice early Apache. You know, it's just missing some of that tactile details that helicopters have, and that being raised details right the way through. I wouldn't say that you could do every rivet raised, because we know that's a bit of a no-brainer, but at the end of the day, what would be nice is to actually see, you know, the areas that proper matter, you know, that have them. Again, classic example, in here, this wouldn't matter because you're not going to see any of it in here, but there's no ejector pins in this part. But this is the top, so you're not going to have that as a walkway area to have them with the engines exposed. So, yeah, drop the ball on that one. Right, okay, so what we have here, this is the sort of telltale for this being other versions of the Apache coming out, purely because down in here we've got the everything from an early version of the Apache. So the electronics bays down in here at the side, the tail rotor being here, the side sponsons and things like that. You know, right the way up to the pilot's night vision system is the single one, obviously the later twin, and the TADS bolt-on area and stuff like that for the rear firewall. Yeah, we are going to see other versions of the Apache coming out. Again, it is what it is. It's quite nice. The doors, luckily, I was going to say don't have ejector pin marks, but they do. So if you've got them open as well, unfortunately, you're going to have to fill these. So, but yeah, generally, as I say, it's all here, and it's going to be a lot faster to go together than it would be if you were doing it for the said Takom and the Meng versions. You know, I was spoiled. I did the Meng one and it turned out beautiful. So when you're looking at a kit like this, you can sort of see all the missing bits, if you like. Okay, so down in here. So down in here we've got the weapons and the engine parts, because obviously it's duplicate parts. So we just unwrap all of this. Again, beautifully wrapped and protected. So what we're going to have here is a match pair. We've got two identical sets, so we just look at one. All right. So down in here we've got the engine. Quite nice. It's all in one part, so that's really, really nice. And the various things. We've got the pylons. We've got the missiles. We were correct. And actually with this, we are going to struggle to do different weapons loadouts. You are just going to have rockets and Hellfires. So yeah, unless you can source some more from something else, you are a little bit limited. So there's your engine detail. That looks pretty good. And also you've got your rocket tube halves there. And then working down, again, this is technically your seats. So you can see there's very, very little detail on those. All right. We've got the pylons. Again, they're not too bad, but lacking in raised detail. All right. The seat itself, very, very plain. There's nothing really on the armoured seat area itself. All right. And then obviously these little guys down in here, theoretically, they should hinge and wobble and move and all the rest of it, so they can move around. Sort of the sway braces as well. I don't know them exactly, but they look like more like generic ones from normal sort of fighter jets rather than what the Apache carries, because obviously the pylons move. So again, looks like it shows the tubes being sort of empty. We don't have the longer ones in here for the illumination rockets and things like that. So it looks more like a sort of half-half. So down in here as well makes it a little bit tricky. This is the blades, or the fins if you like, for the Hellfires. And again, out of this, you're only going to get 4. And you're only going to get sort of 2 rocket pods as well. So, oh no, you're going to get 4 rocket pods, sorry, because you've got them on the other side as well. So, but you're only going to get actually 4 Hellfires. So again, doesn't look too bad all the way through. We've got some of the exhaust areas as well for the engines and some of the wiring and things like that just down in here. They all look pretty nice. And again, up in here. So you are actually, sorry, I've completely got this wrong. I take it all back. You are going to get enough to do, because obviously we've got another screw, haven't we? So you are going to get 4 rockets and, 4 rocket pods, and you're going to get 8 Hellfires down in here, but you can then load them up again because we've got 4 on each. So yeah, again, it's just it's really disappointing when you review a kit and you think, oh, it'd be really nice, a nice early Apache, because let's face it, the other guys have all done the later ones, and you know, they've all got the lumps and bumps and bits all over them, the different nationalities with all the upgrades they've made. This was the sort of the beginning of it as well. So it's very much basic. That's what it is. And obviously the Apache was upgraded, or has been, its entire life until it became Longbow, if you like, system and all the rest of it. So again, it's one of those ones. It's a totally different helicopter, a totally different beast. It just happens to look roughly the same. All right. Unfortunately, this kit is not like the other ones we've reviewed because it's very simple. It's quite a simplistic kit. If you wanted a more detailed Apache, and if you wanted to do a later version, so if again you wanted to do the Longbow types, or obviously if you wanted to do the Guardian types or the Echoes and things like that, then technically you're going to go Takom and Meng all the way. Their stuff is a lot more detailed. They've got finer details on the outside of them. Obviously you've got raised rivets where it's needed, raised bits and pieces all over it. And again, because it's an Apache, you think of it more like a flying tank. It has that feel and look to it. Unfortunately, I think even though this is all recessed and stuff like that, it's just going to be a little bit wishy-washy because the Apache is a big flying tank and big and meaty, not like a normal helicopter. So I think it needs raised details and raised rivets and things like that to give you that type of look with it. Because again, you can dry brush them, you can do so much with it. This one not having it, I think it's going to sort of, you know, show it. The cockpit as well is very mediocre at best. The seats are truly awful and things like that when you compare it to a stock out of the box kit from what we've seen. But all of that said, this is the only new tool, if you like, of the A Apache that's out there in 35th scale. So if you want to do an early Apache, you know, and we're going back to sort of, you know, the 90s, then this is the one for you. This is the one that you're going to be wanting to do, really, in the 80s and 90s with this one. If you're stepping up to the later versions of the Ds during the 90s, 2000s, and then obviously we're up to modern ones now doing the Guardian, then obviously you're going to look for a different kit anyway. I think, though, looking at this one is going to be available in different flavors as they make it. They're clearly saying early, we're expecting a late one. Then I would expect us to see a Longbow version, an early Longbow come out before we start moving into the sort of the Guardians and the Echoes and things like that, because then things are going to change a little bit too much. If they stick to that, I think they could just about get away with this. If they try to make this anything more, then I wouldn't even touch this kit. I would go straight over and go for a Meng, or definitely go for the Takom one, because they are beautiful kits. Having looked at both and having built one, you know, they are absolutely fantastic. And I'll link down below where you can find full details of those kits as well in those reviews. Anyway, that is Trumpeter's go. Not very well, if I'm honest, at this particular one of a 1/35th scale AH-64 Apache, the early version.